Hello and welcome to another episode. My name is Alan, and today we are going to talk about the nation of Albania. I've already done a video on Afghanistan. Albania was next, so it's in alphabetical order. Um, I do have my notes here, as always. Um, so, with that said, let's jump right into it, shall we? I had to straighten my glasses up there. Albania is a country in the Balkan Peninsula, and it's bordered by Montenegro, Kosovo, Macedonia, and Greece. Um, with its coast bordered by the Adriatic and Ionian Seas. Now, let's get into a bit of history here. Human life was first discovered in Albania as early as 300,000 years ago. So, life in this little region of Europe, it goes back a ways. By 2100 BC, they were using bronze, and by 1000 BC, they could use iron. Archaeological the archaeological conclusion is that the region was inhabited from the middle of the 3rd millennium BC by Indo-European people who spoke a Proto-Greek language. So, just an early form of Greek. A portion of this population actually moved to Mycenae around 1600 BC and formed to found the Mycenaean civilization there. Which, if you know anything about Greek history, it's one of the um, earliest periods of Greece is the Mycenaean era, um, which then was followed by classical Greece in the Hellenistic era. Now, early on, the Illyrians, who were actually just one tribe, but though whose name was used for the collective tribes of modern Albania, were seen as a sociable and hospitable people, but very brave and fierce in battle. Illyrian women were even treated as equals, often leading tribal federations. So, the Illyrians and the Greeks evolved simultaneously and were trading partners. So the two civilizations, of course, they knew each other because, like I said, Greece is to the south of modern-day Albania. So they were to the south of the Illyrians. Um, for most of the 4th century BC, the Illyrians warred with the expansionist Macedonians, who fought under Philip II and Philip's son, Alexander the Great. So, the Illyrians faced an even greater threat with the growing Roman Republic, who would conquer the region and called the territory Illyricum. So you can see right now the region was under pressure from early in European history, dealing with a lot of wars and so on. With the split of the Roman Empire, the region was part of the early Byzantine Empire, but was often overrun and raided by the Visigoths, the Ostrogoths, and the Huns. The regions would fall under Slav rule, although much of modern Albania remained largely untouched. Now, southern Illyria, or modern Albania, preserved their native tongue and began the transition into Albania. In the 2nd century AD, Ptolemy of Alexandria mentioned the Albanoid tribe, which were from central Albania. And another mention was later around 1080 by Michael Adelates. I believe that's right. Again, my apology if I do butcher these names. They're not used to the modern English I'm used to speaking. So, in 1190, the region became a semi-autonomous territory known as the Principality of Arbanon in the Byzantine Empire, less than a century after it was dissolved. Well, less than a century, though, the principality was dissolved, so. Charles of Anjou concluded an agreement with the Albanian rulers and promised to protect them and their liberties, establishing the Kingdom of Albania in 1272. Excuse me. The weak Byzantine Empire allowed Serbian leader Stefan Dusan to establish a short-lived empire that included all of Albania except uh, Durrës. So it was still technically under Byzantine rule, Byzantine rule, but the Serbs under Stefan Dusan, and again, I apologize for getting these names wrong. A lot of these Balkan names are kind of tough for me to say. But yeah, so he made an empire that included all of Albania except for the city of Durrës. Um, in 1388, the Ottoman Turks invaded Albania and completely occupied it by 1430. So, in a matter of 42 years, they conquered all of modern Albania, which at this point, the Ottoman Turkish Empire was in its infancy. It barely controlled some of the Balkans and Turkey, so they aren't the great threat they would become. But that was under, what was it, Ahmet the First, I believe. Um, Mohammed Ahmet, that's his name. Um, anyway, after 1443, though, an Albanian military genius, Gjerg Kastriati, known as Skanderbeg, rallied Albanian princes and drove the Turks out. Um, from his stronghold in Kruhe, or Clue, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. He would frustrate the Turks for the next 25 years. The Turks wanted to use Albania as a springboard into Italy and Western Europe, so Skanderbeg's stand won him esteem and some support in Europe. So, yeah, it's one of those Eastern European leaders that really tried to set up a dividing line, holding, like I said, the young Ottoman Turkish Empire at bay. However, after his death in 1468, the resistance collapsed, allowing the Turks to reoccupy the country by 1506. To this day, Skanderbeg is an Albanian medieval hero. So yeah, in the mid 1800s, there was a nationalist surge in the region, and a weakened Ottoman Turkish Empire inspired a pushback that led to an armed revolt in 1910 to 1912. At the end of 1912, Albanian national delegates attended meetings at Vlore. Again, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but I'm assuming. And on November the 28th of 1912, declared independence. The independence was recognized on July the 29th, 1913, when Britain, Germany, Russia, Austria, Hungary, the Austria-Hungary, France, and Italy met in London, and the current modern state of Albania was born. However, this didn't pull the young nation out of the woods, as its neighbors sought to divide the region amongst themselves. And then World War I began in 1914. So, during World War I, a number of nations occupied Albania, including Austria-Hungary, France, Italy, Greece, Montenegro, and Serbia. At the end of the war, at the Paris Peace Conference, the extinction of young Albania was largely averted through a veto on a decision to partition the nation among its neighbors. The veto was made by U.S. President Woodrow Wilson. So, even the U.S. had its part to play in Albania, the modern nation's youth. In January of 1920, a new government was created in Albania, and in December of that year, it was admitted to the League of Nations with the help of Britain. And if you don't know, the League of Nations was a failed forerunner of the United Nations. So, that officially granted Albania international recognition as a free and sovereign nation. Now, though it was free, Albania now had internal struggles between the conservative landowning beys tied to the Ottoman and feudal past, and they were led by Ahmed Bey Zogu on one side. On the other side, which was made of liberal intellectuals, democratic politicians, and progressive merchants who wanted modernization and westernization in Albania, they were led by Von S. Noli, who was an American-educated bishop of the Orthodox Church. Now, between 1920 and 1924, the liberal side of Bishop Noli won over the people, and Zogu fled in mid-1924. Noli set out to build a Western-style democracy and modernize the nation. However, in these efforts, he depleted the national treasury, turning most supporters against him. He was overthrown in an armed assault by Zogu, backed by Yugoslavia. Zogu would reign for 14 years in Albania, first as president from 1925 to 1928, then as King Zog I from 1928 to 1939. So, here is this nation that's only been existing since 1912, and it's already been through democracy onto a monarchy. So, in the 20s, so it's like a very quick change. Zog brought order and stability, but under a very authoritarian regime. There was an influx of Italian money and support as Albania attempted to establish its country and credit. But with the Great Depression of the 1930s having global impact, he was unable to make no real great change. So, despite all the help, he was able to really get the economy rolling, I guess you could say. Italy had the majority of shipping and trade concessions by Albania, and the two nations were close. Even after Mussolini's rise in Italy, the two nations remained friends until the Italian invasion of Albania in 1939. This led to Zog fleeing to Greece. The country would be under Italian rule from 1939 to 1943, and under German rule until November of 1944, because Mussolini fell in Italy in 1943. So, after Italy fell to the Allies, Germany took over its territory of Albania, and I'm sure much of the other Balkans. Meanwhile, communist groups that had been growing since Zog's rule emerged during November of 1941. On November the 29th, 1944, these communist forces seized control of Albania, led by Enver Hoxha. Again, I apologize if I am butchering these names. With Hoxha's rise to power, the Kelmindi people fled, some executed at trying to cross the border. So, the nation is so young, but by 1945 it's already experienced democracy, monarchy, and now communism. In 1946, the country became the People's Republic of Albania. Albania tried to gain support from other communist nations. First, the closest one, Yugoslavia, then the Soviet Union, and then the People's Republic of China. It went so far as to even call itself the People's Socialist Republic of Albania in '76 when trying to gain China's help. So, finally, um, it became isolated. It became isolationist, but that doesn't mean it failed to grow. Hoxha drained coastal swamplands, a former breeding ground for malaria-carrying mosquitoes. He made significant, if not historic strides um, in industry, agriculture, education, the arts, and culture. This was, however, offset by political oppression. The government periodically turned to the use of purges, which included public criticism, opponents dismissed from their jobs, imprisoned in forced labor camps, or even executed. Um, Travel was forbidden to all except those on official business. And in 1967, a law banned all fascist, religious, warmongerish, anti-socialist activity and propaganda. So here they are banning religion and a lot of types of thought. So yeah, um, it closed all Christian and Muslim houses of worship, even though the people still practiced in secret. So that's what the people still try to maintain their religious beliefs, even though it closed like all mosques and churches and so on. Hoxha passed away in 1985. His hand-picked successor, Ramiz Alia, sought to preserve communism, but introduce gradual reforms in order to revive a declining economy. But with the fall of communism in Eastern Europe in 1989, a number of political groups in Albania became active. In response to this, Alia granted travel rights, adopted free market measures to help the economy, and restored religious freedoms. In December of 1990, Alia endorsed the creation of political parties, ending the communist monopoly on power. In March of 1992, the anti-communist Democratic Party won an electoral victory led by Salih Berisha. Again, I'm not sure. The first democratic leader in Albania since Bishop von Noli. So, Alia stepped down once Salih Berisha won. So, however, pyramid schemes wreaked havoc and finally began to collapse in 1996. This forced Salih Berisha to resign in 1997 and the UN to step in. With stabilization and restructuring of the judicial system, events in Albania would calm. In 2014, Albania became a member of NATO. On the 23rd of June, 2013, Edi Rama, again I apologize, won parliamentary election, becoming prime minister. He has made reforms focused on modernizing the economy and democratizing state institutions. He has even brought down unemployment and placed gender equality at the center of his administration, making almost 50% of the country's ministers female since 2017. Albania is, so that's a bit of the history. Let's get into some of the nomenclature and the basic modern stats. Albania is medieval Latin, and the term for the nation that was previously derived by the Illyrian tribe of Albany. Or Albany. I guess it would be Albany. Oh, Albania, Albany. So, the people call their land, and I apologize if I butcher this, Shikiperi or Shikiperia. which means land of the eagles or children of the eagles. Geographically, Albania is bordered by Greece in the southeast, uh, Macedonia in the east, Kosovo in the northeast, and Montenegro in the north. Most of the west coast is bordered by the Adriatic and Ionian Seas in the west. The country is mostly mountainous, with 3/4 of the mountains and hills over 650 feet above sea level. The rest is made of coastal and alluvial lowlands. The highest peak is Mount Korab at 9,030 feet, or 2,752 meters. The population is just over 3 million, and its ethnic breakdown is 92.6% native Albanian, 0.9% Greek, 0.2% Macedonian, 0.01% Montenegrins, 0.3% Romanians, 0.3% Romani, 0.1% Egyptian, and around 14% with no declared ethnicity. The most widely spoken language is Albanian, primarily of the Tosk dialect. Other languages include Greek, Macedonian, Montenegrin, Romani, Serbian, and Egyptian, and Turkish. The nation is majority Muslim at 56.7%. Other religions are Roman Catholic at 10%, Orthodox, I assume Orthodox Christian, at 6.8%, Atheist at 2.5%, Bektashi at 4.2% or 2.1%, and other at 5.7%, with an unspecified at 16.2%. There is a median age of 33.4 with a 0.3% growth rate. Its primary industry is agriculture, which employs 41% of the population, grows a number of fruit and vegetables such as apples, olives, grapes, oranges, lemons, apricots, peaches, cherries, figs, plums, strawberries, potatoes, tomatoes, maize, onions, and wheat. They also produce tobacco, honey, meat, and dairy products, rosemary, and salvia. The fishing sector of Albania's coast produces carp, trout, sea bream, various mussels, and crustaceans. The region also has a long wine producing culture that dates as far back as 6,000 years and still produces a fair amount of wine. So, um, which you often think of Greece, but Albania has its fair share, of course, being just north of Greece. Um, Other industries include electronics, manufacturing, textiles, cement, banking, and mining. Its main mining resources are copper, nickel, and coal. Now, the leading telecommunications companies are Albanian Mobile, Plus, Eagle, Vodafone, and Telecom Albania. And the GDP for 2017 was $36.01 billion. Now, there is an estimated, or sorry, I can't read my own writing sometimes. There is an established road and rail system with 4 airports in the country. The education is compulsory, free, and secular. The primary and secondary uh, grades are compulsory, with the tertiary education beyond secondary school being optional. 94.8% of the country's power comes from hydroelectric power, because its entire west coast is its entire western portion is mainly coastline. So the nation's government is a parliamentary constitutional republic. It has a president who serves as the head of state and a prime minister who serves as the head of government. Um, it has a separation of powers among the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, much like the U.S. The parliament, or the legislative branch, is elected every 4 years by party listed let me try this again. The parliament is elected every 4 years by party listed proportional representation. The judicial is divided among a number of different courts, um, as well as a Supreme Court and administrative courts. Transparency International ranked Albania 91st out of 180 in regards to government corruption, giving it a grade of 38 out of 100. So, right in the middle of the pack, 91 out of 180. The president is Ilir Meta, and the Prime Minister is Edi Rama, with it doesn't appear to have any vice presidents or vice prime ministers. And of course, the capital of Albania is in the city of Tirana or Tirana. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Again, I apologize. I know I've done that a lot in this video, but again, these pronunciations are a little difficult for me. So, now let's take a look at the flag. The flag is a scarlet flag with a black symbol on the front of it. In the center, the symbol is essentially a wing spread eagle or falcon, some kind of bird of prey, have you. But it has two heads, one looking left, one looking right. And the actual picture is not of in detail. It looks more like the shadow of the creatures. So, but that is our look at Albania. I hope you have enjoyed it. I will have the sources, or try to remember to have the sources listed. There have been a time or two I've forgotten to do that, so I apologize. Anyway, let me remind y'all, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. We all need some education, some knowledge, because honestly, the old commercial, well, I guess it's just the old saying, knowledge is power. It's true. You can speak a little more confidently. You can feel a little more confident in what you're talking about. Educate thyself. I try to keep myself educated as well, so. But, thank you for watching. I'll see you again next video. Later.